It's another thing you want to be careful of. You don't want to go prying that hinge cover plate off knowing that there's screws holding it in from the back, because you're going to break it. So always check for those screws holding it in from the back. Gateways are famous for having them. Maybe Acers. Old HPs have them. Not too many other models have them that I know of. Now, before we plug anything in, I always like, if we do a major power jack repair, I always like to test to see if there's any short circuits before I plug anything in. I don't want to fry anything. So I'm going to touch the center pin with the red connector, and I'm going to touch a ground point with the black lead here. That's actually the other way around. It does not matter if you're doing testing continuity. The black plate is actually going to touch the middle pin. And there was no short circuit, meaning there was no beep. If we heard a beep, we'd know we'd be in trouble. Now we're going to take the power adapter, and we're going to plug it in and test this thing out. And we're getting nothing. Why are we getting nothing? Time to diagnose now. Let's test the power adapter. And we're getting 20 volts or 19 volts. You couldn't see it, but the power adapter appears to be working. So let's plug the battery in and see what's going on. I'm pretty confident we did the repair okay on the power jacks, so there's got to be something else going on here. Let's see if it charges the battery. We got the power adapter in there. We're going to jiggle the power adapter. See if that makes any difference. Still not powering on. Now here's a little bit of a revelation. I skipped forward a little bit. With the power adapter in there, we got the battery light charging. When we move it the slightest bit, it goes off. Once we jiggle it and let it sit, it goes back on. Computer power's on. Everything seems to be fine. So I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. What's wrong with the power jack is the inside tip of the power jack is very worn. The tip is bad, and the hole, which is on the inside of the power adapter, just became too big through all the use and damage and whatnot. And it's so big now that it's not making a connection when we plug it into the power jacks. The power jack's okay. Just a loose power adapter now. So what we're going to do is replace the tip on the power adapter. So as you can see here, I cut off the tip of the power adapter, the existing tip, and I already stripped out the wires. We have one that's bare and one shielded with white shielding there. The white shielding one is the positive, the unshielded one's negative. This is a Radio Shack adapter plug, size N, which fits the gateway. We're going to mount it just like that. First thing we want to do, because I always forget to do this, is put some heat shrink tubing over the wire. I use a real thick one to cover the adapter plug, and then I use a thinner one under there to actually shield the wires, as you'll see shortly. Cut a decent size for that. I'm going to pull out the helping hands here, which will hold the wires for me while I do some soldering. The thick heat shrink tubing goes over first. And what I'm going to do now is sand down the posts on this adapter plug. See, the adapter plugs are meant to be plugged into a different adapter, not for wires to be soldered onto the bare pins there. but I found it makes a good repair on a power adapter. You could buy the Radio Shack adapter that it plugs into and then just solder the wires together, but I found the wires and that adapter that this adapter plug plugs into are a little too thin. So I like to go right from the power adapter wires right into the adapter plug. It's not pretty all the time, but it'll work. And you can see I scuffed up the pins there. We're going to put it in the helping hands. We're going to drop some solder on there. I always seem to get this a little out of frame, don't I? And there we have it. Solder is